It's again about the stars. So first, I would like to ask John about it. And
which John?
Since I don't, John LeBon.
Yeah, exactly. So can the audience still hear us, or is this like off air now?
We're off air now.
This is
just for 5 minutes.
Oh, cool. So we can stop pretending we're enemies. Oh boy, that gets tiring.
So,
surely that we've got to put on for the
enemies.
audience.
No,
you can stop pretending if you like.
Oh, we're live again in 5.
What you say.
So, John, I want to ask you: do you see this right now? What I'm sharing, or do I have to?
No.
Is there going to be another show?
Can't you see what I'm sharing right now?
Yeah, there'll be another show. 5
picture.
minutes. 5 minutes.
I can see this. I can see the clouds. Is that what you mean?
This picture, can you see it? It's like a flat Earth, and
you got to click on his name.
Oh, sorry. No, hold on. Let me click on your thing. There we go. Yeah.
So I don't know much about astronomy and the stars. So my question is, if you are standing in South America, South Africa, and Australia, and you look at the south. Also, let's say you look at the sea, like the bottom. Let's call it bottom. Are you going to see the exact same stars?
I think so, but I haven't documented it yet. But that's on my list of things to do. Like,
all right.
Because you know, I was chatting with a flat earther earlier tonight, and you know what he suggested to me? That yes, the rotations, like one's clockwise, one's anti-clockwise, but they're mirrors of each other. So now what I want to do is, I want to, when I get to the Northern Hemisphere, get the time-lapse footage, and then compare to see, like, if they are a mirror. Because if they're a mirror of each other, okay, that doesn't necessarily help Flat Earth, but it, like, I think it kind of does in a way. Like, this would be a way to get around the celestial pole problem if it's actually a mirror of each other.
Wait, there's never been a problem. We dealt with this
mirrors.
back in 2015, John LeBon. Where have you been?
Hey, whoever this angry dude is, man, why don't you just relax? Like, we're not even on the air anymore. Just take it easy, man.
I'm frustrated because you're a pretender clown and you've been Rumpus in the hangout for like over an hour.
I didn't even know this word Rumpus means. This must be a new Flat Earth term. No, dude, just chill out, man. Like, it's a beautiful time to be alive. I'm not your enemy. I don't mean you harm. Just take it easy.
Yeah, but John, you do have to let other people speak and you have to listen.
All right. Can anyone explain to me, would you see the same stars on a flat Earth if you are standing here? Wait, I'm going to show you.
Yes.
Here, and here.
Yes.
All look to the south, and everyone would see the same stars on a flat Earth, right?
No.
No.
They would never see it on a globe.
I'm talking about a flat Earth.
No, that's it. It's the same. You would never see it. Like Optons.
You wouldn't see the same stars if you look at the...
You would, but at different times.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. At different times.
At different times. Local time. Their local time at 9 o'clock, they'll see it.
All right.
They'll see it as it goes round.
So, all right. So you're saying because it rotates, then it's night, and then you can see from here the.
Put it this way: you can never see 3 at one time anyway, because only 2 are in 90. I've looked at this on time and date and tried to find 3 times where they're all looking the same, and they never do it. Not only that.
Let me just enhance that point. If we live on a ball, you've got to have 2 observers, and the only 2 that you can get is Chile or Argentina and Australia. They've got to both look due south at the same time and see the same set of stars, just rotated by one of them will be rotated 90 degrees, 180 degrees to the other. That's it. And that evidence doesn't exist. If it did exist, I'd be on your side of the argument. But that evidence is missing, and ballers just don't realise it's missing.
You'd be on his side of the argument, really?
I would be, yeah, because if you can see the same stars while being on opposite sides of the Earth, and they're rotated in a different position, but they are the same stars, then yeah, I would agree. At the same time, then that can only be spherical.
There is evidence of that, albeit...
Why? You don't even know they're physically there. They're optical phenomena.
But the fact that the evidence is missing means that it's not true. Otherwise, they would have it.
Yeah, the evidence is missing, so it's missing that it's actually proving a ball. So it's just optical phenomena. You don't know why they would face exactly the way they do in relation to your position, but they do, and that's just how it is analyzed.
Anthony, can I ask you
You
something?
can't prove the shape or the circle-centric nature of the Earth using the globe of the heavens at all.
Or Anthony and Arwin, can I ask you both something? So you said there is no distance to the sun, right? But you mean there is no distance we know, but it has a distance, or doesn't it
No.
have a distance?
There is no distance.
There is no distance, so it has no distance at all.
Exactly.
All right. So how can how can something with no distance appear to travel around us?
Well, how far away is a rainbow?
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Quantum Eraser, Zinda, The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Physics Warrior, Jose, John LeBon, Gleam, Earth Flattener, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Excellent, good to be here.
Good afternoon. Sorry, good evening.
Good evening.
Good morning.
Morning. I'm going to attempt, with probably the fullest panel we've ever had, to do a bit of housekeeping. So, any signs of Earth curvature, gentlemen?
All over the place now.
Yes.
Would Patricia's hair be a Earth variety?
Any positive signs of an answer? Any signs of Earth curvature?
Nope.
No? Anybody? No?
No.
Moving on. Any signs of axial rotation? Again, specifically of the Earth-based variety?
No, only the celestial-based variety and of the ether.
I'd like to ask that question to John. Is there any evidence of axial rotation, John?
Let me tell you this. If anybody tries to tell you that there is rotation of the Earth, that you are moving, then that person is in fact a liar. Or they have been lied to and they are spreading the lie. The Earth is not moving, in my opinion.
Oh, so are you a geocentrist then?
Well, I had people trying to tell me what my model was 10 minutes ago, and now you're asking questions about it. So maybe we're making progress here. Yeah, if anyone's tried to tell you that I believe that we live on a spinning ball, that person is in fact a liar. That is a lie. That's a misrepresentation of me.
So do you believe that the stars rotate around the Earth then?
Well, firstly, I don't believe the stars are solid physical objects. I think they might be, but I don't think they're solid things that you could touch. Same with the moon, right? The moon landings being a hoax should be obvious to people by now. But the problem is a lot of people still think the moon is a place you could actually go to. That also is, in fact, a lie.
I probably agree with that. So the evidence of axial rotation, right? Axial rotation could be the Earth spinning or the stars spinning around the Earth. So what's your answer to that question?
So I don't think the Earth is spinning. Okay, and again, I'm open-minded, but I've looked at all the evidence. I've looked at, and now I have to go back into my memory bank here at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I looked at things like the pendulum and these sorts of things. You know those pendulums that they hang a big pendulum from the roof, and they try and say that this is evidence that the Earth is spinning.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've gone looking at that for that evidence, and no, I don't think the Earth is spinning. So the fact that the stars appear to rotate, because it's just apparent rotation, that suggests to me that whatever they are in fact going around us.
But the question is axial rotation.
Well, axial is in if we're actually on a physical ball?
No, is the Earth or the stars spinning on an axial rotation? Not just a rotation, an axial rotation.
Okay, so they appear to be in the sky, moving about as though they're all on a sphere, if that's what you're trying to ask.
Right, great. So would you agree then that...
Do you agree with that? Is that something you agree with?
No, I take your point. I don't agree with it. I'm just about to disseminate. I'm just about to disseminate why. Would you agree that if it's an axial rotation of the stars and the Earth's spinning...
Well, hold on. I need to know what yours trying to suggest. Like, if you say to me this or this, I'm trying to ask you, what do you believe, man? Like, do you have beliefs?
I'm just trying to get there, John. I'm trying to get
other than flat Earth.
I'm trying to get there
now.
Just bear with me.
What you believe. Bear with me. You tell me what you believe.
Well, I believe that if it's an axial rotation, the way we're told, regardless of geocentric or heliocentric, it has to be one has to be antipode to the other. So the rotation in the north would have to be antipode to the one in the south. Would you agree with that?
Let me think. You're asking me if the stars, if we assume, for the sake of argument, that it's kind of like they're on a ball, right? Like they move about as though they're on a ball. Like we're premising it on that notion.
Yes.
Go on.
So if we accept that for the sake of argument, even if you don't believe that, for the sake of argument, you're happy to entertain that idea?
Yeah, go on. The question is do you agree that one has to be antipode to the other?
You would think so, wouldn't you? Like,
yeah,
it seems that way to me, but I'm open-minded to another explanation for it.
So why is there a 10-degree declination adjustment for Brisbane?
But I'm not making that adjustment when I observe that rotation. That's where you're misrepresenting what I'm saying. It's a red herring, and I think you know it's a red herring. I think you know that you're a misrepresenting person. I think you know that.
No, it's not.
I think you know that you are putting out a red herring misrepresentation.
Listen, you have something called declination.
And I think you're doing that because you know what the rotation means to your belief system.
No, we're trying to establish. And
I didn't come here to. You know the funny. Let me just say this, and then I'll shut up. I promise. I didn't even come here to argue with your belief system. I literally wanted to know what are your best arguments for it.
Yeah, but
I just wanted to sit here and
we're
listen.
doing housekeeping at the moment.
I just wanted to sit here and listen. That's all.
We're doing housekeeping.
If people want to know what I believe, they can just go to johnlebon.com.
Hang on.
But I was actually here to learn what you guys believe.
Hang on. We're doing.
Just give me a second. I'm going to get a glass of water. It's 2:20 in the morning. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I just need to go and get some water. I shouldn't be staying up this late, but I'm actually kind of enjoying it. Like when you guys are not yelling at me, it's actually enjoyable. So just give me 2 minutes. I'll be back. All right. Just give me a second.
Okay.
And remember that when it comes to World War One, is a hoax. Okay. Franz Ferdinand, the assassination, that did not in fact happen. Okay, that's a hoax. All right. Just remember that.
Okay. So
next question.
Well, we're still on axial rotation. So at the moment, in this conversation between yourself and John, we're at the point where we've got a star antipode to another star, something only possible on an Earth that's shaped like a sphere.
Yeah, it's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, it is a bit of an issue. But yeah, I don't know.
And the best thing is John's not realised it's an issue yet, and he knows it's a trap, but he doesn't quite know why.
No, I realised that. That's why I didn't say anything. That's fine.
Hey, are we live?
We are live now, John. Yeah.
All right. Did he finally get that clockwise and counterclockwise is fallacious?
No, I don't think he does. I think he still classes it as
we're on step one. We're on step one. So the question in housekeeping currently, John, is any signs of axial rotation? And then Anthony's very cleverly phrased a question: are the stars antipode to each other? And the answer is, of course, that is what it suggests. So suddenly we've got stars that are antipode to each other. Apparently, that's the situation currently.
What are they? Who said they were antipode to each other? And what do they mean by that?
Have a guess.
It's the question is there any signs of axial rotation, right? And by virtue of the word axial, it requires that one would be antipode to the other, like the rotation point. And if that's true,
of the Earth.
Yeah, he did. Nathan did include Earth-based variety, though.
Would a construct look like a taco if that's the case?
I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not necessarily convinced it's flat. I am happy accepting that it might be 4th or 5th dimensional, and we just can't work it out. It doesn't necessarily default to flat for me.
Sorry,
I know some people may argue it does, but that's rejecting the possibility that 4th or 5th dimensional is the explanation, and that can't be rejected in my opinion.
Anthony, Nathan's saying, hold on, Anthony.
Yeah. So, am I right, John? You were was there an issue with the qualification of terms, because we have an axial rotation of the stars now, and you sounded like you objected in some way to that.
Yeah, axial rotation. They're going to have to define what they mean by axial rotation, not of the Earth, but of the stars.
Yeah.
Antipode
comes to mind when that word comes to play, and John's not quite got there yet. But we're getting there.
Yes, correct. So we're all on the same page now.
Hey, when you say John, make sure just say quantum eraser, because
okay.
It's confusing.
Okay.
I know, but I don't mind you being guilty of his crimes. That's okay for me.
No. Yeah. So,
okay. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
So just
we'll
summarize it for the audience's benefit. So we're at the stage where seeing a star movement from east to west in all locations. Now we're at the point where, for some reason, these 2 points of light in the sky above us are antipode to each other. I don't quite know why, but I'm sure Anthony will get there with his line of questioning, but we're kind of stuck on axial rotation until John LeBron comes back. If he doesn't come back, obviously, we'll just move on to the next housekeeping point.
I think we should probably move through and finish them anyway, and then we can come back to this.
Okay, that's a good idea.
But then again, we could fill the whole show with asking John the questions.
Has anyone seen the video? Anyone seen the video by Dorji Daka, where he gets stellarium and he mirrors one of them against the other at the same time, and the same star systems appear both looking south and looking north at the same time?
I've not seen that. I will check that out though.
I've just put it in the Hangouts now. Have a little watch.
I'll have a look at that. That sounds interesting.
It's crazy.
Oh, so that's going on to that point that was made before, that they might be mirrored.
Yeah, it's exactly that. They are. Seriously, watch it. It's crazy. Absolutely mad.
Isn't it?
Hey guys, I'm sorry that I took a while to get my drink. I have to go. It is 2:20. I have to go soon, but I have enjoyed. This has been enjoyable. So thanks to Nathan for hosting, and yeah, like apart from people getting angry, this is cool to have these chats, and like
apart from Nathan,
if we can have these chats and get a better idea of where people are coming from, I think it's cool.
Nathan and John.
Sorry,
come on back, John.
It was only Nathan and John that were getting angry. Everybody else was okay.
Yeah, no, it's like, do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, let's just pretend that I actually did think that we live on a spinning ball, which I don't. But let's just say that I did believe that. It doesn't mean that we have to see each other as enemies. Like, we're all just people living our lives, aren't we?
No, but if we are going to engage in debate, you have to listen to other people's objections. You can't have it as a one-way conversation. That's called Rumpus.
I agree with you. And what we also have to do is try not to misrepresent what each other is saying, like with clever rhetorical tricks. And I think in the past, I fell into this bad habit of, like, I would know what someone was saying, but I would misrepresent what they were saying in like a clever rhetorical trick. And I think I've grown out of that now. And sometimes I see people doing that, and I think you can grow out of it. Like, your life will be better when you fairly represent what the other side is saying.
Well, we can test that right now. We can test, do we agree that the stars all rise due east and set due west?
Yeah, so long as we all agree that there is such thing as north, west, east, and south. Yes, I think we do. I hope we do. I mean, if you can't even agree on that, then you're in big trouble.
Of the travel.
But hey, I wanted to ask you another, before we go on to the star thing, can I just ask you, how about southern flights? Like, do you believe that I can fly from Australia to South America direct?
I don't know. If
they okay, so this one is still kind of
the journey over the oceans.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry, just before we go on to this straw man representation of what the azimuth.
Well, I'm asking. It's not a straw man, Nathan. This is a serious question. Can you fly from Australia to South America and back?
Yes, you can.
Or from Australia to Africa,
yes, you can.
for that matter.
Yes, you can. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I think you can. But does some of the people on the panel here not agree that you can?
I've just conceded we can. So does this have any relevance?
I think it does, because how can you explain how you can fly from Australia to South America direct in the times that it can be done? How can you explain that on any kind of flat Earth belief system?
Okay, wait a second. Could I take this one?
Yeah, go on, John.
Can I take this one?
Go on, quantum eraser.
Quantum eraser. Yeah, listen. When you say, can you explain? Well, number one, I never made any claim to flights from South America to Australia or Australia to South America. I never claimed that. So what do? Do you wander aimlessly asking complete strangers to explain things that they've never claimed?
Okay, so you haven't claimed that. That's good. I'm just asking what your belief on this particular topic is. That's all. So you're saying that you do believe the flights exist, though?
I don't have beliefs.
Okay. Do you know these flights to exist?
I'm not a pilot. I'm not part of the airline industry. I don't know.
I think it's relevant.
I don't
it's
care.
relevant if the flights exist.
It is relevant because how would you expect to know something whether or not a specific flight would exist or not?
So, but I'm just asking, is it relevant if the flights exist?
But if you're going to say that they do exist, you've got to prove that they actually do, not that they're programmed or scheduled on a website.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm just asking, like, if it's even relevant. Do you think it's relevant if the flights exist?
No. Well, you brought it up.
To be honest, not from Australia to. Where did you say the other point was? Did you say South America?
I've flown from Australia to Africa, but I personally haven't flown from Australia to South America. But either of those sets of flights, do you think they're relevant to the conversation about the shape of the Earth?
Wait a second.
Let me answer, John. Hold on. Unless you're going to represent us as having a straw man map, which I've already said I'm a layman who can't map the world. Forgive me for my sins. So, no, unless you're going to bring up a straw man map that you're going to claim we all adhere to, then no, I don't see it as relevant in the slightest. We've moved past...
let me answer that. No, I'm not going to bring up a map. Like, if you're telling me that you don't have a map, you don't have a working model, that's cool. Like, I'm just trying to learn. I'm just trying to learn
Models
where exactly
are
you guys
pseudoscience.
stand.
We've already told you that about 5 times.
Yeah, models aren't where we live. So, back to the stars.
I'm not even talking about a model. I'm just talking about, like, so, what do you accept about objective reality?
Before you went away for a glass of water...
Do you think it's relevant if they do?
Before you went away for a glass of water, we were at the point where you said you can logically deduce that the stars are antipode to each other. And I'd like to know how you deduce that.
Well, I didn't use the word deduce. I try and avoid deduce, prove. I just like the word infer. I observe something, I make inferences from it.
My bad. How do you infer that one star above you in the sky is actually antipode to another star that's further over?
Well, I don't use the word antipode
somewhere.
either. That's another word. Like the word antipode. Up until this conversation, the word antipodian I thought meant people who come from Australia and maybe New Zealand as well. In fact, I'm going to look that up because now I'm a little bit.
John, if we live on a sphere, be it geocentric or heliocentric, you have to accept that some stars are antipode to you. It's under your ass, right?
All right, so I just looked it up, and you're like, the word antipodian means relating to Australia or New Zealand. So forgive me if I'm not really up with your use of the word antipode. That's just what the word means to me, generally speaking.
Antipode, not antipodian.
In terms of the flights, because a lot of the people listening to this might not be aware that I used to host a show called the Baller Skeptic Roundtable, and on the very first episode, I had Dan Murphy 25, who's a lovely fellow, by the way. He's not here to defend himself. This is not an attack on him. I'm just saying what happened. He tried to tell me that you can't fly direct in the place that some people call the Southern Hemisphere, or this part of the plane, wherever I am. He was trying to say you can't fly from Australia to South Africa and back. And I was like, yeah,
are we
sure
Dave Murphy?
I did it. And so what I'm just trying to establish here is, where is Flat Earth today in 2018? Okay, if I'm going to get into a debate with Scottish Storm, I need to know what I'm up against.
Let's forget Dave Murphy. He's not here. Nathan, would you mind sharing my screen, please?
Yeah, but I don't want to move past this point. We've got antipode stars to each other. Antipode meaning, I hate to use the word because it's not literally correct, but on the opposite side of a sphere.
Yeah, just present my screen.
Yeah, so on the ball model, I think I can answer your question directly, Nathan. On the ball model, as I understand it, those rotation points, yeah, they're on opposite sides of that model. I think that's pretty straightforward.
So what?
Is that the answer you're looking for?
No.
Yeah. I'm assuming that there's like a getcha or a gotcha question at the end of this. So I'm just trying to cut to the chase because it's 2:30.
Hold on.
Just cut to your gotcha question. Like, what's the gotcha?
It's not a gotcha. It's pointing out your logical fallacy. So because a model says they are antipode to each other, does that mean they are?
No, I'm saying that if you look at the evidence, that's the inference you'll draw. The rotation of the stars.
Sorry.
That's my point.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get to that.
I could be wrong. Give me arguments against, like...
Yeah, I'm trying to get there, John, and you're rumpusing me. I'm trying, John. I'm trying.
And the evidence would be that there were no southern flights, but now it seems to me like people...
Can you let Nathan talk, please?
Maybe you can explain why you would infer that, given that we don't live on a model.
No, we live on Earth, I agree. So I'm just trying to establish, before we draw any inferences, let's see what we agree.
You've already drawn an inference. Your inference is that they're antipode to each other. Now tell me why.
Well, no, that's not the inference.
That's your inference. I asked you what your inference, and that's what you told me your inference was. Why are you doubling back on your assertion? Please don't do that. Just tell me why you infer that. Why do you infer that?
What I tried to establish was, what objective reality can we agree on? And it seems like there's some agreement that there are these rotations in the sky. Some are clockwise, some are anti-clockwise.
No.
It seems like we got some agreement on that.
Well, then you're either not listening or just ignoring the bits you don't like. So which is it, John? Are you ignorant or deaf? Which is it, John? John LeBon, are you ignorant or deaf? Because you are either ignoring the point.
Maybe I'm stupid. Treat me like a dummy. I'm here to learn about flat Earth. I want your best arguments for it. And so far you've given me none.
Okay, no problem. We'll treat you like you're dumb. John... Quantum Eraser, so please can you explain to John LeBon again why they're not anti-clockwise and clockwise rotations?
Tell me what Scotty's going to hit me with when I debate him.
Yeah, we can't start rumpusing. Yeah, we know. This is very troubling for John because his accepted rhetoric is based on a formal logical fallacy known as affirming the consequent. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. If we have rotation in the southern hemisphere, antipode to the other stars, then we must be on a sphere. And when I ask him to explain how he's formalised this, he says, rumpus, 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 rather than actually telling me how he's come to that conclusion.
I can hear you now, Nathan. Did he go back to the clockwise, counterclockwise deal again?
Yes.
Are there any flat Earth arguments?
My God.
Every minute that you waste not giving me arguments, it's becoming more clear there are no arguments.
Yeah, we're pulling apart your position, John. Because for some deluded reason, you think the stars underneath your arse, underneath you. Why you would think this is beyond me, and you don't seem to want to tell me.
So again, every minute that passes with you guys failing to give a flat Earth argument, it becomes more clear to the listeners what's happening.
Wait a second. I already
just give me one flat Earth argument. Just give me one. Give me your best.
Okay, I'll give it you, John. John,
no, you don't have to.
John, will you listen?
But if you don't,
will you listen? Clearly not. Did you ask the question? Will you listen to the answer, or will you interrupt halfway through?
I'm going to shut up and listen. If you give me a flat Earth argument, I'm all ears.
All ears?
But not a personal attack. No more personal attacks.
All ears, just because I've already said it about 5 times, and you seem to be ignorant of it, or you just don't like it. So I'll say it again, hopefully uninterrupted. What we observe in our reality, not on a model, is a flat world. Obviously and observably flat. How?
In Nevada, yes, but not in Brisbane, and probably not where you live. So that's...
Sorry, what do you mean, not where I live?
That's not an argument. That's not an
There
argument.
are people who come on the panel daily. Sorry, there's been screenshots presented throughout this entire conversation of the flat world that presents itself to us. So to say that it doesn't occur here, but does happen in Brisbane, or on the salt flats, or on all these other flat pieces of land, is irrelevant when it's happening all over locally. Now, I can't see all of it at once, but that's irrelevant if everything I do see locally is flat. So, we're not making any presuppositions. I don't need to give you a map. The world is obviously and observably flat. That's why at the beginning I asked...
Fair enough. So it's not about arguments. It's not about actual evidence and arguments. It's just, I see what I see. I describe it the way I describe it. And I describe it as flat Earth.
No. I already gave a presentation a number of times on the flat Earth proofs on this very channel. What in the world are you talking about?
A presentation of flat Earth anger. I'm looking for flat Earth evidence and arguments.
What do you mean anger? I just told you I've given presentations on this.
Let me ask a question, John. John LeBon.
Goodness, Anthony.
Give me evidence. Give me arguments for flat Earth. Do you have any? Do you have a single one?
Just listen.
Like even just one.
Agree that he who asserts? Do you agree that he who asserts
argument to prove it's not a personal attack? That's all I want. Just one.
Listen. Stop speaking.
Forget about John LeBon. John LeBon is a nobody. We want flat Earth arguments.
No, we don't need flat Earth arguments to challenge.
No, you're right. You don't. You can believe without arguments. I already gave them. And if you just admit that, then we'll all be happy.
I already gave them, John LeBon.
No, you gave anger. You're a very angry person.
No, I told you anger. Yeah, I'm getting frustrated because you're a pretender clown.
Were you this angry before flat Earth?
So, listen. I've already given
you weren't. You were probably a happier person
number of times. Nathan, can you shut him up?
Go
ahead, Nathan.
I'm going to shut up myself. I'm going to shut up and listen to you give me flat Earth arguments. I promise I will shut up when you start giving flat Earth arguments. Will you do that?
I've already given numerous presentations on flat Earth proofs. I had 4 of them on this channel, and I gave 5 of them on Iron Realm Media. The first one was the salt flats in Bolivia. The second one was the evolved Sea Sparrow missile. The third one was the Coriolis effect. The fourth one was no vacuum attached to a vacuum.
Excellent. Can you please elaborate on the Sea Sparrow one? That's a new one. I want to learn about this. Can you explain that one to me?
The Sea Sparrow?
Yeah, so you're saying you've got an argument for flat Earth that involves the Sea Sparrow. I would love to hear this because Scotty Storm might hit me with this in the debate. And if this is a good argument, I'd rather hear it now and then, like, you know what I mean? So you please explain this to me.
It would take too long to explain it here right now.
Nah,
go back to the presentation.
Nah, John, come on. Quantum Eraser. I could explain the Sea Sparrow proof probably in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Go ahead.
I'm going to shut up for 3 minutes then. I'm going to put myself on mute and I'm just going to listen. This is good.
Well, the broad strokes is that you get a direct line of sight. Simple as that. So you put pencil beam to target something at 60 nautical miles and there's no obstruction in the way. You've got a direct line of sight with it. If the Earth was a sphere, there'd be an obstruction. Simple.
Okay, that was a quick 2 or 3 minutes. So what you're saying is that the Sea Sparrow missile flies in a direct line and this leads to a conclusion of flat Earth.
No, the targeting system.
The Sea Sparrow targeting system. The target illumination radars must have line of sight to their target. The evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 engages surface-based targets at 35 miles away. Now, that's lowballing. They can't give the full range, but it's been documented 35 miles away, right? And it needs line of sight. But on a spinning ball at 8 inches per mile squared, that would be impossible to have line of sight. So basically, that's the argument.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with me. So I'm looking up Sea Sparrow right now. Is this one of those wingless missiles?
What do you mean wingless?
Well, you know how some missiles have wings, but some missiles supposedly they still stay in the air.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, are you open-minded to the possibility that some of the technology that was shown by the military is in fact a hoax?
No, because I'm retired military.
So how far did you see with your eyes one of these Sea Sparrows
fly?
Fly?
My eyes. I wasn't. I'm not a Navy guy. I'm a land lover. I'm not a squid.
Okay, so your appeal to authority then is meaningless. So why do you guys think it's impossible?
What define appeal to authority?
So you said, oh, because I've been in the military. So you're basically trying to make the audience think, well, you would know what you're talking about. But then when I asked you, have you seen the missiles with your eyes? You quite correctly admitted that you haven't.
You said all
so
these
now I'm
military
asking,
things are a hoax.
Is it possible that some military technology
and I can
is in
tell you that
fact
they're
a
not a
hoax?
hoax. So your argument
how come you
is
can tell me
vain.
that? Why are you telling me that?
What's an argument from authority?
So an appeal to authorities when you have someone believe that what's being said should be believed because it's coming from an authoritative source. Now, if someone's been in the military, they can give us this impression of, oh, he knows what he's talking about. But hold on, you haven't seen one of these with your own eyes.
That's in fact incorrect. That's not
so you have seen one with your own eyes.
Or appeal to authority. An argument or appeal to authority is appealing to someone that's not an expert in the field. Big difference. I'm retired.
You can define it however you like, but we've established that you haven't seen this with your own eyes.
That's not my definition.
So
that's what
my question to you is, why can't this be a hoax? You don't know what it is.
I'm telling you,
why can this not be a hoax? How come these missiles can't be a hoax?
The range of the evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 is greater than 50 kilometers. The target must be illuminated by an RF. Would you shut up? The target must be illuminated by an RF pencil beam via target illumination radar from the launch ship for the weapon system to engage. That is,
it's used on aircraft. It's used on aircraft.
He won't listen. I mean, you're going to let me finish this?
It's used
the
on
target
illumination. Not a problem. Line of sight.
Okay, I'm done. You're a clown.
It's rumpusing this time.
Well, it's a completely flawed argument by John. The Sea Sparrow.
Well, these missiles could be a hoax. That's not a flawed argument. I've made many videos talking about this.
Here's the rumpus.
They are true.
How do you know they're
the
true?
claims he's making are false. When they engage at the distance he's talking about engaging with aeroplanes. So it's a completely deceitful argument.
Really?
And then actually, it's mostly a
Citation,
short-range missile system anyway, so it actually
Citation,
doesn't engage
please.
at those distances normally.
Citation, please.
Well, I thought you might be interested in this diagram I've got here, by the way, while I'm here, which is showing the point that John was making about the counterclockwise and the
Didn't I give you a phone number for mental health?
Yeah,
Didn't I give you
John,
that?
you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And here's the clockwise point that John was making in my diagram to share that, showing how that you've got an axis that goes from north to south. This is a picture taken from the equator, and you cannot get that on a flat Earth. That's the point that John was making, and he's completely correct. And there's the evidence, therefore, you cannot get that picture on a flat Earth, showing you the axis from north to south. You've got the, if you face the south, it rotates one way, and if you face
all
the north,
the
it rotates the other
stars
way.
rise in the east and set in the west.
I know that, John, but that doesn't, you cannot have that picture on a flat Earth. It contradicts the flat Earth in that one picture.
All the stars rise in the east and set in the
John,
west,
you keep on
no
saying that. I'm
matter
not
what
disputing that.
position
You cannot
is on the Earth. So take your little diagram and shove it where the sun doesn't shine.
We didn't get to hear it. We just heard a load of rumpusing as your counterpoint was put forward. John, can you repeat it?
I mean, I was on the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile when this clown jumped in. I mean, what are we talking about now? Where do you want me to go?
Well, just address his star point that I've just put on screen as it did get discussed.
Okay, his star point again. Let's go back to this for the 6th time, probably even more. So, no matter what position on the Earth, all the stars,
no one's disputing this, John,
and the moon rise in the east and set in the west. This counterclockwise, clockwise, left to right is in reference and is subjective and is relative to the direction that you're facing. This is simple. A coherent second grader can reconcile this in less than 15 seconds.
You have to explain this picture, which is taken from the equator and shows the axis of rotation north to south, which is not possible on a flat plane.
Where was this taken from? Are you out in space?
It was taken from Ecuador, I think. I can give you the link to the site if you like.
Do you understand? Can you refute that all the stars rise in the east and set in the west?
Oh my God. I've just said 5 times that no one's disputing that, John. That's not the point.
Therefore, there can't be a counterclockwise, clockwise anti-rotation. This is very simple. We can move on.
Okay. I mean, the question I've probably got for this picture is, why is it in a circle?
It's because it's using a wide-angle lens so you can see north and south poles at the same time.
Have any of you looked up solography?
No.
Oh my goodness.
So the point is, this one picture explains, invalidates the flat Earth. It's not possible to have a flat Earth
I can't hear
and
what
this
Rumpus is
axis
saying.
rotation.
Can you say that again, Rumpus?
Right. This picture, because it shows the axis of rotation north to south, that's not possible on a flat Earth, given that the North Pole on a flat Earth is vertically above. This is actually going sort of, as the persons are viewing it at the equator in this picture, is going left to right using a wide-angle lens. And so the axis of rotation is north to south, which is not possible on a flat Earth because there's no flat Earth model that can accommodate this. So as John Le Bon said, if you look to the north, it's rotating one way, if you look to the south, it's the other way.
Get clarity, Rumpus. So the camera for this picture is pointing up.
Yes, it's pointing along the equator. Yeah.
But it's still just pointing upwards.
Yes, and to the left is north. To the left, sorry, I think to the left is south, and to the north is right.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry
if you stand on the equator and look up,
is this Rumpus, gentleman, where you guys get the word rumpusing from, or is that a?
Yeah, that's where we get it from. Me, yes, it's Rumpus.
Oh, so you're a regular participant on these debates?
I come up once a month or something or something.
I wouldn't say a participant.
Can I ask you a question? Have you had many people contact you to say that your words or your ideas have helped them to leave Flat Earth behind?
Yes, I've had people do that. Yes, and
is that what motivates you to help people get away from
Yeah, I mean, I like invalidating, showing Nathan Oakley and Riley, and this, for instance, the arguments of Riley was something about the sun, for instance, distance to the sun. He keeps on quoting Huygens, when in fact, if no one uses Huygens' idea of Venus being the same size as the Earth, that's not what's the basis for the distance of the sun.
Yeah, but
he
Rumpus,
keeps on
when he asked the
quoting
question,
even though he's
he
been
wasn't
explained to
referring
him
to
20 times, that's not the basis for the distance of the sun.
He was referring to
I'm not trying to
adults
interrogate you, I'm just
that-
curious. Would you be, if you met someone who was a flat earther, but they were happy in their life, they weren't angry, they weren't cult-like, they weren't trying to convince you the earth is flat, they were just peaceful people who believe in flat earth, would you be cool with that, or would you try and change their mind?
I think probably if they were happy in themselves, they weren't trying to impose their idiocy on others. I mean, I've got to accept the fact that there are idiotic people in the world, and if they want to believe something, they're happy about it, and they're not trying to impose that on the education
Rumpus
system.
is the poster child.
I suppose I'd let them carry on their way, but it's when you get people trying to impose their idiocy on others on the educational system, then obviously you've got to resist that.
Like him.
The reason I ask is just because I've been in this scene, I call it the ACT realm, alternative conspiracy truth. I've been here for like 4 or 5 years. And I'm at the position now where I'm like, if I meet someone and they're happy believing they live on a spinning ball, I'm cool with that. If they're happy believing they're flat earth, I'm cool with that. And I think what happens is,
right, but don't you want the truth?
I probably made the mistake of thinking that all flat earthers had gone completely mental a year ago or so, but I've now realized, no, there still are some peaceful, happy flat earthers, and I've got no issue with them. It's just the angry, dogmatic ones.
That's amazing.
They're the ones I have an issue with. You know
this
what I mean?
isn't a feelings type of thing, John LeBon. We're
all
looking
about
for
feelings.
the
You're an
nature
angry
of
man.
our
You're a very,
reality.
very angry person.
You know, we're not sitting around singing
Listen to you.
kumbaya and talking about other people's
What do you
feelings.
think? You're going to change the
We're
world
looking
in flat
for the
earth. You
nature
still
of
believe
our
that?
reality, John LeBon. So, what is your position, and what evidence do you have to support that position? Go.
Well, one of my positions that I was trying to talk about earlier is that wingless missiles are in fact a hoax. Now, I could be wrong about that. Okay, I could be. How do these missiles generate lift? That's what I want to know. How do these objects stay in the air without wings? Wings give lift. Lift keeps things in the air.
Well,
How
hold
can
on,
one of these things stay in the air without lift?
Rocket. Things like the V2 rocket, for instance, it started off.
Well, that's a hoax. V2 rockets are in fact a hoax. That's a good example. I'm glad you brought that up.
They're a hoax, even though we've got footage of them and they landed on this country and we've got.
Yeah, have you gone back and looked at that footage?
Fireworks.
We have got film footage of them taking off. We've got people who worked in them. We've got the remains of the archaeology, in effect, of those missiles, and we've got the wreckage in the UK of those missiles.
Sorry to interrupt.
And we found that we've got
people who
worked in the factories underneath mountains.
Sorry,
we've got the designers.
sorry to interrupt, Rumpus.
We've got
Really sorry.
People who designed that and built them. There is so much evidence.
Rumpus, I've heard. Hello, Rumpus. His question to you was, can we see that, please?
You want me to produce? So you want the video footage, or do you want the analysis?
I'm not asking you to present it on the spot, because you've just got this question now like this. I'm not expecting you to have this just lying around. But are you at least open-minded to the possibility that we've been deceived about V2 rockets?
No.
You're not open-minded to that possibility.
There's so much evidence. It's the same. It's the same evidence. I exist. It's almost there's as much evidence for the existence of V2 rockets as there is that I live in the UK.
Wow. Do you think there's any mass deceptions that take place?
No, that's all a fantasy for people who believe in delusions.
So you think men actually walked on the moon?
Absolutely, of course.
And you're not open-minded at all to the possibility that that's
verified. I mean, for instance, the UK tracked the rocket. The Russians did as well. We've even got photographs from Japanese satellites that have gone around the moon that have picked up the landing.
Satellites? Where are satellites at? Are they in the vacuum of space?
The landing things has actually been photographed by Japanese satellites going around the
vacuum of space.
We have
How can you have a gas pressure?
Oh, let me finish my sentence, John. I'll finish in 2 seconds. We've got photographic evidence.
How do you have a gas pressure without a container?
John,
you absolutely do interrupt
stop
him.
distracting. Look, you. Anyway, we have photographic.
Can we refer? I'm interrupting you now, but this is the other John. Can we refer to that other John as some other? Call me JLB and call him.
Okay,
don't call him John. I don't want to be in any way associated with that guy. He's an angry dude.
Okay, yeah, I was referring to John when I was asking him to not interrupt me. I wasn't talking about you.
Let's call him something else. What's his online moniker?
I'll call you JLB.
Quantum eraser. John LeBon.
Right, so JLB, we have photographic evidence from things like the Japanese satellite that went around the moon surveying it and picked up the Eagle landing site from the Apollo 11, etc., etc., etc. We've got all the things pictured. Well, I think I can't remember how many ones they pictured, but we've got independent evidence where they were charted their radar track to the moon. We've got people who've been there. We've got as much evidence as you would expect for it and more.
Is that scientific evidence?
Okay, well, can I I'm just going to say one thing because I do need to get going soon. Like, I'm not going to try and change your mind. I don't even know who you are. You sound like an intelligent, well-spoken person. But I don't believe that the man walked on the moon. Do you think that makes me crazy, or do you think it's okay to not believe these things?
I think that's not really okay, because it suggests that you believe that a large portion of the population around you is lying to you. So you must think that 50% of the people...
No, they're not lying. They're just mostly stupid. Most humans are very stupid creatures.
I'd agree with that.
And Rumpus knows that because he's one of them.
You've got the IQ of a vegetable, John, I'm afraid. So, JLB, I'm afraid it does suggest that you're prepared to accept, for instance, the existence of Mongolia, even though presumably you haven't been there. And so all sorts of...
Yeah, but I'm open-minded to like you say, Mongolia. You're right, I haven't been there. You're right, I haven't been to Mongolia. I've met people who claim to be Mongolian. Right. Is it possible that they're lying? Sure, but my inference is no, there is a place called Mongolia.
Exactly, and there's just about, from your point of view...
I've never met a man who's been to the moon.
Yeah, but hang on, Mongolia is not a contentious point.
Yeah, well, we're going on authority, and there's no contention about going to the moon.
It's called a false equivalence fallacy.
Well, you just said something very important there. You said that you're going on authority, and to me, that's cool. Some people lead their lives, and they want to trust their authority, and I said that's cool. That's why I wouldn't try to change your mind if you're convinced that your authority...
Well, there's lots of independent evidence. It's not as though there's the one-person authority telling me this. There's lots and lots of independent evidence, and that's how you measure...
Oh, sure, but like the NASA and the Japanese Space Agency...
And our own sites.
But they're both in the same racket, aren't they?
So you think that the Japanese, the British, the European, and the Russian...
war is a hox.
Hold on. JLB, you interrupted me.
JohnLeBon.com and checked out what I believe.
You interrupted me. JLB, you interrupted my answer there. You were claiming that things like the Russian Space Agency, the Chinese Space Agency, the European Space Agency, the UK, the American, they're all in some game. I mean, that requires a conspiracy of ridiculous
They are in some game. They're in the same game.
And for you to believe that, it does suggest you've got some sort of paranoid delusion, I'm afraid.
Well, I'm open-minded to that possibility. Are you open-minded to the possibility that you are the one who is in fact being deceived?
No, because there's so much independent evidence.
There's not, though.
Because when you speak like this, now you sound like you're proselytizing. Now you sound like you've got faith in authority.
Yeah, he's
I base my opinions on evidence, and there's lots and lots of evidence.
Okay, is that scientific evidence?
Scientific evidence, yes.
Scientific evidence.
Like okay. Hold on a second. Well, Nathan, we ready?
Scientific observations, for instance.
Do rockets work in space?
Of course they do.
Really? Got any evidence for that?
Well, rockets work in
vacuum. Wait a second. What space?
We have footage of that happening. We have
outer space. Anyone who tells you that there's a place called outer space is in fact a liar.
Hold on, JB. I'm answering Anthony here. Yes, we do have evidence of rockets in space. We can radar track rockets going to space. We have video footage of going to space. We have people who've been to space. We know we know the physics of rockets work, and we can make them work in a vacuum. So we've got a whole wad of independent evidence showing that rockets work in space.
Rumpus, what evidence have you got that proves that it's true?
Well, I just gave you for instance, we've tracked
a story.
Well, this evidence, you dismiss evidence.
Show us a proof that what rockets work in space.
Am I sharing my screen, Nathan?
You are sharing, yes, John.
Okay, Rumpus, natural phenomena observed, please.
Well, we can track, with rockets working in space, we can track them with radar. So we have an observation that rockets radar systems are in space.
How does what is space?
Hold a second.
Space.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Hold on, Anthony.
What's the hypothesis?
Will you worry about that, Anthony? Sorry, John. I'll just answer Anthony's question. Sorry, what was your question, Anthony?
No, it's okay. Anthony will retract his question temporarily while we do this with your claimed scientific proof of this. Okay.
Right, if Anthony's happy with that. He didn't ask me a question. I was trying to answer and I forgot what it is now.
All right, so claimed scientific proof of what was what rockets working in space?
Working in space. I think that was a question, wasn't it? And I said,
yes. Are you sure you want to stand by scientific proof that rockets do work in space?
Yes.
What do you mean by that? Sorry, Anthony. You mean rockets don't work in a vacuum like space?
No, I said do rockets work in space?
Yeah.
Well, but do you accept they work in a vacuum?
If I say yes, what?
Then I would ask for evidence that rockets work in space.
So,
how could rockets work in space when space is in fact a hoax? This is like an absurd.
That's my point, John. JLB.
Well, hold on. Can we just establish that Anthony believes that rockets can work in a vacuum for a start?
But I didn't say vacuum.
I know you didn't. But this is the first step. This is
JLB gets it. Why don't you get it?
Hold on, John. Anthony, could you just go step by step. Do you accept that rockets work in a vacuum for starters?
I'm not interested in whether they work in a vacuum or not. I asked about space.
I know you did, but I'm going this step by step. I'd like to know.
What space then, Rumpus?
I'd like to know from you whether or not you believe rockets work in a vacuum as a first step.
Well, I asked about space.
I know you did. I'm going to get.
Where'd you get a vacuum?
I want to do it in a series of steps.
Well, you are straw manning me. I didn't say.
No, I'm not straw manning. I know you.
Yeah, you are. Where'd you get space?
I'm not straw manning. I'm not trying to give you any opinion. No, I'm not.
What space, Rumpus?
I haven't said you said it was in vacuum. I perfectly accept you said it was in space. I'm just asking you a supplementary question. Do you believe that rockets can work in a vacuum? And I know that's not the question you want.
I have no opinion.
Space.
You have
What space?
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. This is quite simple.
Sorry, we've got a confusion in terms. Sorry to interrupt, Rumpus. This is a bit of a deadlock. So we need to get a clarity on a specific term. What is space?
Yeah.
Right. Space.
Excellent question.
Space is the sort of interplanetary area that has a much lower density of material than the conglomerations accumulated by mass.
That's a lovely story. Now, have you got any evidence for what space is?
Yes, we've been there. We've sampled it. We've been.
Really? Can we see something?
You keep saying we. You keep using this collective we, but you haven't done.
Okay, the scientific is the body of science.
You say the authorities have been to space. The authorities tell me stories about going to space, and I believe them. Just say that. Don't say we.
It's just like a priest. It's like a religion.
Well, it is. We as a civilization.
Come on, Rumpus, how are you going to prove space?
Yeah, John, you're on screen still, John. Quantum Eraser.
Yeah, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time with Rumpus's space. He's trying to say vacuum, but it just didn't come out.
Yes, that's what he's trying to do.
Well, it is effectively a vacuum. It's not quite a vacuum.
Right. So how are you going to prove it?
Well, we've been there. So, we can see it.
No, we haven't.
Okay, wait a
second.
Go ahead.
Anyone who says that we have been to space is in fact a liar.
A human being, our civilization has been into space. So we as a collective...
The authorities claim that they went to space. They're storytellers. That's why they're called the authorities. Author it is.
And
tell stories.
And they have lots of independent proof. There's lots of independent proof for it. Radar track. We've got people who've got personal testimony.
You have a lot of independent proof, but it's a second law of thermodynamics violation, Rumpus.
Correct.
Hold on. What's a violation of second law of thermodynamics?
Space. Vacuum next to a non-vacuum without a container.
Yeah.
Gravity pulls on those little molecules.
Gravity.
Just like it pulls on...
Which gravity?
Hold on, John. John, stop! Don't interrupt me when I'm mid-sentence, please.
Yeah, I have to stop you because
you're doing it again. I've got 3 words.
Sorry, let's shut you both up. Sorry, both. John, Quantum Eraser and Rumpus. Hold on. Just let me get control. Hold on, Rumpus, a second.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry. So we need just a meeting of minds in terms of terms. So which gravity are you talking about, Rumpus?
Right, the Newtonian gravity is a manifestation of the explanation given by Einstein, but it's effectively the same thing as far as forces are concerned.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
One's a force.
Absolutely.
It is not, because Einsteinian gravity is not a force, Rumpus. Do you understand that?
Do you understand that centrifugal...
Do you understand that Einsteinian gravity is not a force?
John,
Rumpus.
Do you understand that a centrifugal force is
that's not an answer. A question is not an answer.
I'm asking you if you understand that
you understand that Einsteinian gravity is not a force.
It's equivalent to centrifugal force, which is also
it is not a force, Rumpus.
It is a force. In effect, it manifests itself in the same way as a force. Do you understand centrifugal force? What that is?
Sorry,
do you understand spontaneous parametric down conversion?
We're clarifying terms. So are we still haven't got a meeting of minds. Are we talking the force described by Cavendish gravity, or are we talking the bending of space-time? Which is it? Which are we talking?
The bending of space-time causes the force as documented by Newton. Now that's why. Hold on, John. Let me just explain.
Hold on.
John.
You've given it your best effort, Rumpus, and you're saying one is the cause of the other. So if you don't mind, just give John a couple of seconds. He's nearly there. I think you're there, John.
Not quite. He's calling it a force.
Here we go.
It's not a force.
Here we go. A few references for you to pay attention to, Rumpus.
Hold on. Yeah, I'd like to finish my sentence. Centrifugal force is a fictitious force.
We're not talking about centrifugal force.
Oh my
we're
God.
talking about
we're talking about
Einsteinian gravity versus Newtonian gravity. Do you understand that, Rumpus?
Maybe go through it. Read it.
So, Einstein created his general theory of relativity, which provides our modern understanding of gravity, with the express purpose of expunging non-locality from physics. Isaac Newton's gravity acted as a distance as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the 1 and 2 by showing that the curvature of space-time and not an invisible force gives rise to gravitational attraction. So, Newtonian gravity is a force. Einsteinian gravity snapped that nonsense in two and showed that the curvature of space-time, not Newton's invisible force, gives rise to gravitational attraction.
In the car. So, Sleeping Warrior, why did you not mute him? He interrupted me, not the other way around.
Because
I only got 3 words out and he interrupted me, Sleeping. Try and be a bit more objective about this. I just want to get one sentence at John. Anthony, I want to get one sentence out and then I will let him proceed.
Yeah, but the problem is you get your one sentence.
No, I only got 3 words out, Anthony. You can't deny this. Be objective about this. I just want to get
Newtonian gravity is a force. Einsteinian gravity is not a force. They're not even in the same geometry, for crying out loud. Newtonian gravity is Euclidean 3 space, whereas Einsteinian gravity is pseudo-Riemannian 4 space. Newtonian gravity speaks to instantaneous actions at a distance, whereas Einsteinian gravity is limited to the speed of light. If I had beach balls and Bunsen burners, they would have more in common than Newton's and Einstein's fairy tales. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
I want one sentence and then he can turn. I want one sentence and then he can have a turn. Right. The sentence is that centrifugal force is a fictitious force, and the Einstein explains the manifestation of a fictitious force that we observe as Newtonian force. Carry on.
Okay, back
Can I just
to your
interject really
scientific
quickly because
evidence
it's
of
late
your
here?
rockets.
Just a quick interjection. Maybe I can help make the panel more fun and friendly. I think you guys can all work together and hate on me because I think I know something where Rumpus and the panel will all agree. Because you guys all seem to think that wingless missiles can fly through the sky.
We're not going back to that, John LeBon. We're going back to the natural phenomena observed, please.
So do you guys think that like objects can fly through the sky? Like
we're not going back to that, John LeBon. We're going back to the scientific evidence.
JLB, what are you talking about?
Well, I'm trying to get you guys to be friends, and I think Rumpus and you guys will all agree that these missiles exist, because most people still believe that wingless missiles can fly.
So,
what are you talking about? Which missiles?
Hold on, Anthony.
Well, the ones that we were mentioning earlier, what was the name that was given? I looked them up. Sea Sparrow.
You claim the V2 missiles are wingless.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's on screen.
Hold on. You think we V2 missiles? You regard those as wingless?
This is a distraction. Rumpus, you said that
I could be
observe
wrong.
rockets in
but
space,
I'm pretty sure
and
the
you said
V2
it was
rockets were
scientific.
wingless, yeah.
Guys, please.
Answer his question, please.
No. Let me just explain. We've had this put on screen for ages. If you click on my icon, if you haven't already, you said you could scientifically validate rockets in space.
Yeah, I'm happy to, but I keep on being interrupted or whatever.
Let me just respond to JLB.
No. This has been on screen for ages. Rockets in space, scientifically valid according to Rumpus. I'd like that qualified.
That's great. I'm more than happy to.
You're up,
so
John,
we have the observed phenomena. We can track rockets with radar. Well, I don't know what that has to do with space, but number 2, what's your hypothesis?
No, we're talking about rockets in space, John. That was the question. Can we show that rockets were in space? That is relevant. If we can track their position as being in space, then there we are.
Okay. What's the hypothesis, please?
The hypothesis is that they are existing in space and we can track them with the radar.
He keeps using the word we, but just get him to say no, the authorities can, because that's more accurate. Let's try and be truthful here.
Well,
you can't track this, the authorities do.
It's much quicker to say we than it is the authorities say.
But it's also misrepresenting the reality of the situation.
They represent human civilization.
It's not we.
It is.
There's no collect. You're not part of some collective.
All the governments around the world.
Stop, Rumpus, wait.
Hold on. All the governments around the
JLB.
world. Hold on. Let me just one sentence to JLB. What we've got all these governments around the world that all agree on this. So it's not like just one government or something and one authority, one despot, one tyrant. It's a collection of 150 odd countries have governments who all agree on this.
Argument
JLB.
ad populum fallacy.
Hang on, JLB.
So
It
they
might
are
be correct
existing
to
in
we.
space. What's
might be
your
correct to say we.
independent variable?
Well, you can change your radar, where you're looking at with your radar, and seeing whether you detect something. So it's where you're looking at is your
I've
independent.
never used a radar in my life. Have you?
That's irrelevant. This is a different
Well, it is relevant because you're talking about what we can do, but
at-
you have not done these things. You claim that we can
Oh,
do.
this is the hyperskeptic route. This is ridiculous.
What does
Again,
hyperskeptic mean? These are simple questions. What is your evidence?
I'll explain then. I'll explain what hyperskeptic is. This is the thing that Nathan uses as well. Basically, if you haven't done it yourself, you can't believe it. But we all in our lives.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if you haven't done it, you can't say
You
we.
interrupted me. I was in mid-sentence then.
But you're misrepresenting me. You're misrepresenting me. You're saying that I'm saying
I'm
that's
trying
what
to
I'm
give you
saying.
an answer, and you're not
misrepresenting me.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not misrepresenting.
You are. You're misrepresenting me.
No,
You're doing it intentionally.
I'm not ascribing anything to you at all.
Just stop a sec. It might be accurate to say we if you were included in that group.
Right. Okay. But the point,
and he's not included in that.
The point I'm making is that in our lives we accept lots of information that we regard as reliable and authoritative from the BBC or other media institutions or scientific bodies, etc., etc. So therefore,
BBC is reliable.
But largely, yes. I mean, not always, but largely reliable.
But that means they're not reliable.
No, it doesn't mean that.
Yes, it does.
You know, because nothing is perfectly true except maths. Only maths is perfectly true and provable. Everything else is conditional and it's just more probable than not being correct. So it's more probable to be right than wrong. That's the way life actually is. That's reality. So you have to work out what is most probable and what's not probable. And the most probable case in something like rockets in space, we've got all this independent evidence for it, and being on the moon.
No, we don't. You keep saying
yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have lots of independent evidence, and that's how you decide whether something is true or not.
Have you ever seen one of these results with your own eyes?
Sorry?
I want to know, why do you keep saying we?
Because when 150 governments around the world with separate institutions and all of them have millions of scientists in the world all agree on these things, I'm entitled to say we as a civilization.
We must include you, right?
Well, the trouble is, I mean,
Otherwise
I'm not allowing for idiots. I'm talking about the people who actually would do this professionally.
So wouldn't it be they?
No,
they, yeah.
Well, we as a human civilization.
No, not we.
We as a human civilization.
No, they.
The
authorities.
We as a human civilization.
No,
yes,
not we.
Look, if
Nobody
I refer to the whole of humanity, when I'm referring to the whole of humanity, I'm allowed to say we in that sense.
You can't say we.
But it's just
You're
not
not part of
accurate.
humanity, then, Anthony. Anthony, you're not part of humanity. Can I not say
Hey,
we as
Nathan,
humanity?
are you looking at this?
You can say we, but it's just not accurate. It's they.
Yeah,
They have given you stories of men playing golf.
You're a member
Shut those guys up.
of humanity, aren't you? So if I say we as humanity have do something, then we've done it. As that's
no, that's so not true.
No, we have not walked on the moon, and you have not walked on the moon. And anybody who tells you that they have walked on the moon is in fact a liar.
So hold on, Anthony. You're saying you would never use the we to reference the whole of humanity. You never.
No, I would say humanity.
Humanity believes in religion, therefore God exists. No.
I wouldn't say we unless I was included in that bracket.
Well, you are. You're included in humanity. You're
not.
Did we kill people at a school in Sandy Hook? No, we did not. Some person may have, but we did not.
No, that's not.
We do not take responsibility for other humans' claims.
Come on,
and these
we have
claiming things.
But knowledge spreads throughout humanity, JLB.
And now you're spreading their lies.
When nobody in this panel has done it.
Newton's laws, for instance, we collectively have knowledge of Newton's laws.
No. They tell us the science. We try and understand it.
Well, we're also part of some of us understand these things intimately, and I am part of that understanding of Newton's laws.
So you claim.
I understand it intimately.
So you claim.
But you did not walk on the moon.
Intimately,
Even if you did not.
You sleep with it, Rumpus.
We as humanity did.
You slept with the laws? Do you got any pictures?
Pictures of what?
You sleeping with Newton's laws because you were intimate with them.
You understand that words have multiple meanings, John?
Yeah, I understand.
Do you understand metaphor?
Okay. Hey,
did you understand
Nathan,
metaphor?
Are we seeing this screen?
Because we got presented to the audience.
You're just
the whole
being
time.
stupid. Okay, fine.
Yes,
Well,
they can see
really?
It's been presented to the audience the whole time. This laughable scientific proof that Rumpus claimed he'd got earlier. Nice to see it formulated on screen with laughing my fucking arse off at the bottom. That's what I'm doing.
This is, I'll tell you what, this is beyond incoherent second grade shroom-induced coma. This stuff right here. I mean, I'm speechless.
Well, I didn't ever say this is an observation, not an experiment. But you
said scientific evidence.
Excuse me. So when I asked you if this was scientific or not, you claimed it was. Does that mean that you just don't understand what science actually is?
You don't understand what science is. You
don't understand. That's what you've just asserted. You don't understand what science is. Because if I ask somebody what scientific evidence they have and they present this garbage on screen, I then point out to my audience, I'll shut you up for a second while I point out to the audience that you do not understand science. If you did, you wouldn't formulate this shit.
You don't understand the difference between hypothesis, experiment, observations.
This guy is a lunatic, man.
Theory. You're so all over the place just because you parrot John's stuff.
Look at what you did.
You don't understand, for instance.
Look at this.
Something simple like, for instance, if I were to say an experiment to work out what
you don't know what it was. Look at you can't even formulate a hypothesis. You
don't understand the most simple experiment usually involves more than 2 variables. For instance,
God.
Why would you assert that when that's a complex hypothesis? That's not scientifically formalized hypothesis to establish a cause and effect. That's a complex hypothesis.
Hang on, Nathan, let's start with the definition of science. Rumpus, what is the definition of science?
Well, I would argue it was the understanding reality.
I'm not asking you what you would argue. I'm asking you what is the definition of science.
Well, that's my understanding of what science is.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking what's the definition of science.
That's my definition.
I don't care about your definition.
Well, okay, I believe that is the definition. I believe that's compatible with the definition
of science.
Sorry?
What is the definition of science?
Well, I think lots of people have different definitions. I think
no. What's the definition of science?
If you look in different dictionaries, you'll find different definitions.
JLB, this is what's known as obfuscating the point.
It's not.
No, it's actually correct. There are different definitions. If you look at the Collins or the Macmillan Dictionary, you'll get different definitions. So I'm not really sure what.
Yes, they understand.
Instead of listen, can I give you advice? Instead of playing rhetorical tricks with people like this guy, just get him to tell you what he really believes. If this man believes that humans have played golf on the moon, then just let him give his testimony. He believes that human beings have played golf on the moon. What more do you need to hear? Right? Clearly, he's read lots of books. He feels very smart. I don't think science is making this guy happy. Look how angry he seems.
He sounds like that flat earther from
you're delusional paranoid, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you can't even explain the Coriolis force.
I can, very much so. And you don't. Oh, okay.
How many frames of reference are there?
Anthony, I've got a lovely diagram for you to look at and for you to give me an answer.
Oh, God. Why are we even listening to you?
I've got a little quiz
You're
a panel, actually. I've got a lovely quiz here. Can you see this diagram?
We already exposed you as a no-depth Wiki Discovery Channel parroting pretender clown Muppet right here.
How many? I'd love to know from people. I'd love to know from everybody on the panel how many reference frames are in this diagram. I'd really love to know if anybody can get this right. I've got hopes that some people can.
How many references frames are there in the Earth?
Well, there are as many molecules. Every molecule has its own.
In regards to Coriolis in the Earth, how many reference frames are there?
Anthony, you'll understand what your question means. If you look at this diagram, can you see there are 6 bullets in it? And can
We're
you
looking
see
at this diagram right here.
Can you see the
person
firing a bullet?
How many reference frames are there in this diagram?
Yeah, so that bit, I'd really love to know, Anthony, if you're capable of working out that answer to that question. And now, any member of the panel, I'd love to hear what John's got to say.
Right, Coriolis, John. Sorry, Rumpus. Coriolis.
Well, hold on. If you understood this diagram, you would understand why your Coriolis claims are so idiotic. But I'd love to know, John.
All right, so let's go through it. What's your issue? What is it? What's the question?
The question is, how many reference frames do you think are in this diagram? I've got 6 bullets moving around. I've got a roundabout with a ball on it, a bullet, a cartridge on it. I think John would like me to get the term right. A rifle stuck to it as well, which is also firing a bullet. I've got a runner.
Did I not ask you that exact question?
Sorry?
Did I not ask you that exact question?
What exact question?
How many reference frames are there in the Earth rotating?
There are as many as there are different objects moving in different directions. So every molecule has its own reference frame because it's
there's 2 Rumpus.
No, you don't understand. Well, if you answer Anthony, if you look at this question here, my diagram, you will suddenly realise why you're wrong. If you Anthony, just think.
Either the atmosphere goes with it or it doesn't. That's simple.
Anthony, just think of these 6 bullets. Are you saying that all these 6 bullets that I've got here that are moving in different directions are all in the same reference frame? Is that what you think?
They're all in one reference frame.
No, they're not, because they're all different. Thank you. I knew someone would get it right. Thank you.
They're all in the same.
Well done, that chap. A reference frame, Anthony, is something that doesn't change its coordinates frame in that reference frame. As these bullets are all moving in different directions, they're changing their relative position. They can't be in the same reference frame. The fact they're in the atmosphere is irrelevant. Just because you're passing through the atmosphere, imagine there was no atmosphere. Are you then saying that that changes what reference frame it is? Because
imagine if you had a science acumen, where we would be right now.
So, can I ask a quick question then? So if you're in a car travelling along the road and that car's a closed car and you throw a ball up in the air, what happens? Does the ball suffer a deflection because it's left the car?
I missed the start. Sorry, Anthony. Sorry, Nathan. I missed the very first few words of your sentence.
No problem. So you're in a car. It's a closed car. It's got a roof and windows and is closed.
Right.
Travelling along. Yep. You throw the ball in the air whilst travelling along in the closed car. Does the ball suffer a deflection?
No.
Why would that be?
Well, I mean, it would suffer a very tiny but not measurable deflection due to...
That's a simultaneous no and yes answer. So it doesn't suffer a deflection. Why not?
Well, the effect, you would need to have it in the air for some time for the Coriolis. I mean, anything at a different height, moving in a different direction relative to the Earth. The car, for instance, also subject to Coriolis force because it's moving relative to the Earth.
Sorry, I'll say it again. I'm in a bus, one of those special hollowed out buses that are used for parties with a really tall ceiling. It's travelling along the motorway at 70 miles an hour. And I've got enough time to throw that ball and have a hang time of about 2 seconds in that bus. Okay. So does that ball come back to my hand, or does it immediately whiz to the back of the bus? Which happens?
Because it takes on the velocity it started off with, which is going along with the bus, and it keeps that velocity, and then so comes back where the bus, where it come back down your lap or on your hands, if you hold your hands in the same place, yes.
So even though it's travelling along at 70 miles an hour, because it's a closed system...
Well, actually, it's not a closed system. There's air coming in and out, so it's not a closed system, but it will approximate.
For the purposes of this discussion, it is a closed system, clown.
No, it's not really. There's air coming in and out like crazy.
Okay, so is the air in the bus travelling along with the bus?
Most of it is, yes.
Right, okay. So because the air travels with the bus, we don't see a deflection.
The air travelling with the bus is irrelevant. It would if you're in a vacuum, the same thing would happen.
No, we're in a bus with air, and we throw a ball in the air. Even though we're travelling at 70 miles an hour, the ball still comes pretty much back to your hand.
It does. It does indeed, yes.
Right.
That's right.
So that would be because the air is travelling with the bus. Correct?
It's nothing to do with the air. Okay, if the air was moving around relative to the bus, yes, there would be a problem. It wouldn't happen, yes. But if you had a vacuum, let's consider it with a vacuum.
Sorry, we're not talking about vacuums. We're talking about very simple stuff. And it's really difficult
you're fundamentally right. Yes, because the bus is
very simple point. I don't really understand why you're finding it so difficult to just concede.
Well, okay, I like to be very particular, but you're right that as the air inside the bus is moving with the bus, there's no movement of the air relative to the bus. Therefore, the ball just does what it normally does, as it would if it were just stationary. Yes.
I see. So, does the air move with the Earth on the sphere Earth? It does.
Yes, correct.
So, why would there be any deflection then?
Because the reference frame that I got in this diagram here, there isn't. The scale you're talking about, just
Let's hear Rumpus's answer.
There's not enough time for there to be an action. But for a bullet, because it travels further, the Coriolis effect is proportional to the velocity. Proportional to the velocity, you get a more noticeable deflection.
Sorry, what deflection? The air's travelling with the Earth, like in the bus.
Yes, but there's movement of the bullet relative to the Earth. The atmosphere stays in lock with the Earth's surface. But
yes, like with the bus, and therefore we don't see a deflection.
We do see a deflection of the bullet.
So don't just assert your religious belief. Explain why in the bus, in a small scale, we don't see a deflection because the air is carried with the bus. Yet when you scale it up to the Earth, you still say the air is travelling with the Earth, and yet we do see a deflection. That's a contradiction.
That's why I was particular when you first...
It's called a contradiction.
Yes, it's called a contradiction. If it does it in the bus and doesn't get hurled to the back of the bus, i.e. a deflection, because the air is travelling with the bus, then when we scale that to the Earth, with the air travelling with the Earth, then there is also no deflection.
No. There is a deflection.
Exactly.
Measured.
No, don't just assert your religious belief about it. Explain the contradiction, because the two are analogous. The Earth, with the atmosphere travelling along with it, and the bus, with the atmosphere travelling along with it. They are analogous. However, we have a contradiction. We don't have a deflection on the bus, but according to you, we do have a deflection on the Earth. That's a contradiction.
No, listen to what I said.
Hey, Nathan, I just want to say thanks for having me, man. I have to get going, but good luck to you guys, and yeah, all the best to everyone. And if you want to know more about the fact that missiles are a hoax, just go to johnlebon.com. Tons of free material, podcasts, articles, videos, the whole lot. Everyone's welcome. There's even a couple of members on my website who are flat earthers. So not many, but there are a few, and we get along. It's all cool.
Paranoid,
everybody's happy. So thank you, Nathan. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. All right, bye-bye.
It's been an absolute pleasure, John LeBon, and with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do, but if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
It's just whether... I actually think what's really going to happen is that they're going to say, no, I can't do the course. But if they do that, that'll just... I mean, realistically, that's terrible for their argument that I can do what they say I can do on the course. But
you're completely deluded, Anthony. The people who set the curriculum are
deluded.
The curriculum
That's
boards
like
and
freaking
Pol
Pot charging the Dalai Lama with genocide.
There are institutions which set up the curriculum.
So you would therefore say that by default I should fail the course, right?
Well, if you're trying to, it seems to me, establish the legal basis for whether curriculum boards and exam boards, what they decide to include in their exams and what they regard as true.
No, the legal basis for if anybody's responsible for being taught lies.
The exam boards are. The exam boards have to.
No, they set the exams.
Yeah, that's right. They have a legal obligation. The exam boards have a legal obligation to give true and accurate and ask questions that reflect reality. If they were asked questions that were false, there'd be...
Yeah, well, they're not responsible for the tuition.
No, they're responsible for the curriculum.
Rumpus, are you capable of answering a question or responding in
less than 50
or
question.
100 words? I mean, just a question.
I answer every question precisely.
That sometimes
requires more than one word.
I like your precision on that scientific method. It was classic.
Just for 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes. Do you think that I will fail the course if I do what I say I'm going to do, which, let me be clear, is to challenge the legal basis on which education is taught? Does it have to be true?
Yes, it has to be true. Yeah.
Yeah, well, do you think I would fail if I suggested it might not be true and we're being taught things that aren't actually true?
Well, the boards have a legal obligation, I think, to ask questions that reflect reality. If they were not to do that, I'm sure they'd be in violation of...
Yeah, but it's not about who asks the questions. It's about who provides the teaching.
Well, no, the teachers follow the curriculum.
Correct. So if the curriculum states that we live on a sphere and we're in the solar system and all these planets exist and they're all set distances away, if that turns out to be an unascertained or an assertion devoid of evidence to prove that it's actually true, do you think that anybody should be or would be accountable if it turns out that they can't prove it?
That's why I said to you, it's an issue to do with the curriculum boards and the exam boards.
And that's my attack, the curriculum.
Right, exactly. So you keep on talking about tuition. It's not. The point is the curriculum boards and the exam boards have a legal responsibility.
No, there's no curriculum board. The national curriculum is a document. It's not a board.
Right, okay, but there must have been a board responsible, or committee, whatever, responsible for creating that, and the exam board.
It's the Education Act established it in.
Hey Nathan, you still here?
Right, and that Education Act must institute a board to do this.
Great hangout, sir. I'm going to have to go, but outstanding hangout. Sorry to interrupt.
It was quite cool, yeah.
You're an idiot, John. I really are a moron.
Yeah, John, you take care, man.
You are an absolute.
Hey, Anthony, I'll catch up with you, man.
We love you.
You don't understand maths, science, physics, experiments.
Anyway, Rumpus. Let John go in peace.
He's an idiot, though. I mean, he really is an idiot.
Well, I think the same about you at times. But
but you're an idiot. You're not qualified to have an opinion.
Oh, really? On something that is legal based, right?
I don't think even your.
I would actually assert that I'm far more qualified than you on legal based stuff.
You are more qualified, but you're an idiot. So
well, then you don't have an opinion on this, then, Rumpus. You're not qualified, so just keep your opinions to this yourself when it comes to this legal stuff. You don't have an opinion here. You're not qualified. You don't have an opinion. You don't understand what you're talking about.
Right. So, national curriculum.
Yeah.
Do you think that people should be held accountable if they assert things that they can't prove to be true?
Absolutely.
Right. So how do you prove the distance to the sun?
Well, I've explained this to you numerous times. I mean, it is measured repeatedly in all sorts of ways by various institutions. But the one that you might want to focus on, the first one, the easiest one to understand, was done by Cassini. And that was done by a parallax measurement of the distance to Mars, and then Kepler's third law to get the distance to the sun.
Right, and we know that he based his work on Cassini, didn't he?
Huygens. It seems deceitful, Anthony. You keep on talking about Huygens and Mies, and that's got absolutely nothing to do with Cassini's measurement of the distance.
Oh no, that's not true though. Bear with me, Rumpus. I have on screen right now for you. Bear with me. Distance to the sun. There we go. So this is the citation that I frequently use.
Yes, and it's to Huygens.
And when we talk about Cassini, at the bottom it says, about 14 years later, Cassini in France, assisted by Picard and Romer, and Richter in Cayenne.
He didn't use the same method, Anthony. He used a different method.
Hang on.
It's irrelevant.
Haven't finished yet.
Oh, God.
Measured the parallax of Mars and could then find the length of the astronomical unit without any assumption about the size of the planet.
So why do you talk about Venus and the assumption of the size of Venus then? Is it demonstrated in this document that he doesn't do that?
The sentence continues. It says, Cassini, where's the line? Cassini derived the size of the solar system and described his results in 2 papers. Citations
without any reference to Huygens. So why do you keep on referring to Huygens?
It continues. Cassini's value for the astronomical unit was 11,000 diameters in the earlier paper. Since Huygens and Cassini were working in the same scientific institute, they could scarcely have been ignorant to one another's work.
So what? He used a different method. Who cares if he knew Huygens or he knew his work? He used a different method. Why do you keep on saying that Cassini is reliant on Huygens? He used a different method. He had 2 French government-sponsored mission to go to what was the Caribbean.
This is an issue of interpretation. How do you interpret this sentence? Since Huygens and Cassini were working in the same institute, they could scarcely have been ignorant of one another's work. And above, it says Huygens.
But Cassini did it later. Huygens didn't have the information that Cassini did. The expedition to New Guinea or whatever it was, French Guiana, to do the parallax measure. Hold on, Anthony. The measurement to do from French Guiana and from Paris to do the parallax measurement of Mars wasn't in existence when Huygens did his theory. It was only available later to Cassini.
Do we agree that Huygens solved the problem with an assumption?
Yes.
And do we agree that it says that since Huygens and Cassini were working in the same institute, they could scarcely have been ignorant of one another's...
So what? Cassini was aware of what Huygens did. So
how do you interpret that? I interpret that to mean...
Yeah, but Rumpus, you're an idiot.
Rumpus, I interpret that to mean that they both knew about each other's assumptions.
But... Yes, I mean, so presumably Cassini, when it was 10 years later, they had that expedition to do the parallax measurement Mars, was aware of what Huygens had said 14 years earlier.
Yeah,
so
and he assumed the size of Venus, didn't he, Rumpus?
No, it's not dependent. His method does not rely on the size of Venus. Why don't you understand this?
Okay,
because it doesn't say that. It says
Anthony, hold on.
And then it says straight away.
Anthony, I just want to get some clarity.
Go and look up Cassini's method, Anthony, and you will find it makes no use of the size of Venus.
So tell us how it does it.
Citation for
go and
Anthony, hold on. Anthony, hold on a second.
Idiocy.
Rumpus, can you tell us how he did it?
Right, I'll explain it again. What he did was to do a parallax measurement of Mars. And to do that, it was a government-sponsored expedition. To do the parallax measurement, they needed 2 distances very far away on the Earth. So they did that by making an observation in Paris and an observation somewhere in the Caribbean. I think it was French Guinea. So they then, using triangulation, they got a distance to Mars from the Kepler's third law. They then decided worked out what the distance to the sun was. None of it involved anything to do with Venus.
How did they get the distance to Mars?
Because they did a parallax measurement by having the distance between 2 points on the Earth, and they did a triangulation to
How did
Mars.
they get the distance of those 2 points?
Because they measured.
How did they get the size of Mars?
They didn't. They don't. You don't need the size of Mars in the calculation of the distance to the sun. You just need to know how far it is away. It doesn't matter how big.
How
it is.
far away? How far? How were they able to determine how far away?
Yes, how far away is it? How did they determine the distance to Mars?
Explain it. Triangulation. You're not familiar with how to do triangulation. You need 2 points.
Yeah, when you know the distance. When you know the distance of the 2 objects.
No. You only need the distance between the 2 points they're doing observed. So, for instance, if you wanted to find the distance to an island, let's suppose you were on a beach and you want to know how far an island was away that you could see. You get 2 people to go a few miles one way and a few miles the other, and then you know how far they are apart, and then you get the angles to the object you're interested in, and then you triangulate. Hold on, let me finish my sentence.
No, you just gave it away.
Let me finish my sentence, then you can come back. Finish my sentence, then you can come back. I haven't finished my sentence. Let me finish my sentence, and then you can come back at me.
No, because
no, I want to finish my sentence, and then you can retort and refute me if you like. Let me have the courtesy of letting me finish my sentence. So using triangulation, you've got 2 points, you know the distance between them, and then you do an angle to the object, and then from that, it's a well-determined, surveyed, known practice. You can then determine the distance of the thing, and that's what they did to get to Mars. Carry on. Now, you go.
Rumpus, is this triangulation based on round Earth?
Correct.
Correct.
No, that's the question. Is it based on a round Earth or is it based on a flat plane?
Of course it is. Of course it is. It uses
to
work out the distance between 2 points. You have to know where they are relative to one another. And as we know, we're living on a. Let me finish my sentence, Anthony. I'm going to finish with 5 seconds, for God's sake. I don't interrupt you. So you just need to know what the distance between the 2 points on the Earth is. And indeed, you need to know the Earth is a sphere. Oh, for fuck's sake, let me finish my sentence. And
I'm baffled you don't know that.
Let me finish my sentence, you cat.
No, man.
I'm baffled you don't see the problem. Back at me. Right, so you know the distance on the Earth, and then you can then determine the distance to Mars. Now you have a go.
I just posted a picture in the chat. Would you look at it and see how you feel about that?
Right, is this who's posted this?
Hang on, just before we do, let's close this point. Let's say, Rumpus, just for this conversation that you are right. Why are there multiple sources citing different people for the distance to the sun?
Well, obviously, in early times before they got round to having the expedition I described, there were lots of people guessing, like Huygens was.
No, that's not what I asked. I'm not asking who did it. I'm asking why is there not one common answer for the question, how is the distance to the sun measured?
Well, if you want the most up-to-date method, well, obviously, if you want the most up-to-date method. Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I can cite you 3 different citations now that cite 3
of a modern method to get to the distance of the sun.
Well, of what is the distance to the sun, regardless of whatever its method or whatever. The answer is what is the distance to the sun, right? And the answer is 93 million miles. And when you ask how was that derived, you get different answers.
Well, people
even if you are right,
no, they don't get different answers for modern methods.
I can give you
they'll all give you the same distance. Well, of course, you know in an elliptical. Oh, Anthony, you do know in an elliptical orbit. So, of course, what do you decide the radius is in an elliptical orbit? Because it's going to vary. It's going to go from a large to it's got a major and a minor axis. What do you want to call the radius of an ellipse? That's the question you're probably having a problem with.
Not really. There should be a common answer. And it should be...
If you ask the mean distance, Anthony, that's a different answer to saying how far we get the maximum and how close we get to a minimum. It's an ellipse.
Well, okay, let's accept that. Let's accept that. What's the current science for it? Are you going to say radar?
Well, yes, the way I think we've done it, I think the last method was used was getting a radar on Venus and then because we can't do it directly on the sun because there's so much radiation from the sun, you can't get a
Really? NASA said we can do it on the sun?
I don't think we can do it directly. I'm not sure of that. I don't know this for an absolute fact, but I do not believe.
And now hang on. You've just said we couldn't do it, and now I'm just about to say that we can do it.
I thought we could, but I must admit, I thought you could, but then I haven't researched it properly.
So what is the current science then? Is it Venus or is it the sun with radar?
I'm not absolutely sure whether the current system has got a means. I do know that we're able to measure the change of the size of the sun to within 6 feet as it grows and expands. So I imagine that's done with radar. So
you're imagining, right? So is the answer to my question you don't know?
Just look at my picture, Rumpus. Just look at my picture in the chat and see how you
Which
feel
one? You
about
got
that.
two. The first one or the second one?
So which picture are we looking at? Which is this? Is this Gleam who's posted this?
No, it's the plain truth.
No, you've obviously posted it in the wrong chat.
Where's the link? I can't see it.
Sorry, I still need to get a bit of clarity. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, guys.
Oh, well, why can't you post it in this chat?
Guys, please. So, Rumpus,
can you post it in the group chat? If you want me to look at something, post it in the group chat.
Thank you. So, Rumpus, I was asking about Cassini, and we got how you got the angle, but you also need the size of the object that you're looking at.
No, you don't.
Explain how you don't need the size of the thing you're looking at.
Okay, let me draw a diagram and I'll share it with you.
Well, do you agree you need 3 input values?
You need a distance, 2 angles. Here we go. If you
you need 3. You need
3. No, you don't. Let me show you.
Hold on. I just need clarity.
Anthony,
please.
I'm going to draw a diagram to show you, for God's sake.
I just need to ask you my questions.
Right.
So do we have the distance to Mars for this measurement already?
No, we don't.
So do we have the size of Mars already?
No.
We don't.
You're talking about working out how the distance to Mars, aren't you? That's what you're trying to work out.
No. I'm trying to figure out how Cassini got to the distance of the Sun.
I'm drawing it now. I'm drawing how it was done. Here we have a distance.
Just before you do, just because it was people were talking over you. Okay. So you're saying in this calculation, you don't already know the distance to Mars.
Correct.
And you don't know how big Mars is.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, so here it is. I'm drawing the diagram now. And here is the distance between the 2 observer points. So this is observer point 1. And this over here is observer 2. And you know the distance between them.
How do you know the distance between them, Rumpus?
Because you work it out. Just like we know the distance between, say, London and Edinburgh. Even in 1672, they could work that out, and then they could work out the distance from Paris
Rumpus,
to.
We're not talking about London. We're talking about 2 objects we can't get to.
No, we're not. We're talking the 2 points on the Earth. This is the observer points on the Earth.
Okay, well, we're not talking about 2 points on the Earth. We're talking about Mars and Venus and the Sun, or
yes.
whatever.
Hold on. Listen to what I'm saying.
Hold on, Travis.
You need 2 observer points on the Earth, and then you measure an angle to the object. So this is Mars. This is Mars here,
Rumpus,
up here.
Rumpus,
you're not listening to me.
Okay, Rumpus, listen.
You're not listening to me.
No. I'm telling you, you are conflating these 2 things together, and they aren't the same.
Now, I will explain it to you exactly where you're going wrong.
No, hold on a minute. Let me just interject here. If you draw those 2 lines from the Sun to the 2 observer points out to infinity,
that's Mars.
You'll always have the same angles.
No.
This is bullshit. Yes, you will.
Depends on whether you're on a sphere or on a plane.
You can just
guys,
increase
this
that
is me.
triangle
Hold on.
to
Can you all
infinity,
stop hijacking
and
my
you'll
point with
always have
Rumpus?
the same
Stop
angles.
it.
Okay, sorry.
Stop it.
Sorry.
I've asked Rumpus to explain something, and you're all hijacking my point. He's explaining it to me very courteously.
All right, sorry.
Can you just let him explain?
Here we go.
And then let me respond to him afterwards.
Yeah, I wish if we could do that. I'm happy to take turns. Right. So here's an angle 1. Oh, bloody thing! 1. Here's angle 1, and over here is angle 2. Now this is basic triangulation. So if you, for instance, you've got Mars up here, but you could do this if this was a beach. If observer 1 and observer 2 were on a beach, you knew the distance between them. They're looking. So this could be an island or something in the distance.
Sorry, Rumpus. Can I just ask? Is this on a flat plane or on a sphere?
I'm drawing it on a flat plane, but let's suppose it was on a sphere. So let me make that modification.
Then it would open the angle up, wouldn't it?
Hold on.
Anthony, for the love of God.
Right. I will now draw as for the Mars situation, which is this is like that. So then,
hold on.
So now
why have you just done that?
This is
why?
Sorry.
Why have you just done that?
Well,
because Anthony wanted me to explain how it was done for Mars.
But you've just reduced the angle. Angle 1 and angle 2 are now not the same.
Yeah, I know, and they can take that into account.
Sorry, why have you done that?
I've done that because Anthony wanted me to draw the real situation for observing Mars, and this is in Paris, and this other one was in French Guiana. And I wanted to draw it to make it, and I was just drawing because Anthony requested more realistic, so I made it more realistic.
No,
Sorry,
but you've reduced the size of angle 1 and angle 2.
Yeah, I know, and you can take that into yes, but you know the distance, Anthony. You can take that into account by knowing how far you are away from one another.
No. You've got to put your angle 1 and angle 2 back to the same value that you measured them at. So if it was 38 and it's now 35, put them back to 38.
Okay, no, there we go. So what you do is you measure that angle there. Well, the way I think actually the way you measure angles is actually from your vertical, but they will measure that from the horizontal. So
sorry, let me get this straight, Rumpus. So they're measuring an angle and then you're adjusting it.
Hold on.
Sorry, let me just ask again. You're making an angle measurement and then adjusting it, correct?
Well, you make it to the horizontal. So
are you or are you not adjusting it?
Hold on, let me just draw.
It's a yes or no question.
Hold on, let me just draw in the horizontal. There's the horizontal for this chap.
Answer me.
And you measure this angle
Just
here.
answer me. Are you measuring an angle and then making an adjustment to the angle that you measured? Yes or no?
Making it, but you just take into account the angles they are with respect to one.
So that's sorry. So that's it. Is that a yes? You will be adjusting the actual angle.
No, you take the angles that are measured, but you may using the geometry you've got. You calculate what the
angles were measured.
So that's a yes.
I see a curve in the.
Shut up!
In the
Who's talking? Please be quiet. Right, Rumpus. So you're measuring an angle, and the value that you actually use in this mathematics is not the angle you measured. Correct?
You have some trigonometry to do and some.
I'll say it again. 5th time.
You use the angle you measure, you idiot, and then you use the
really angry. Shout at me,
to get the right answer. It's very simple.
You shout at me. Go on. Shout at me a bit more. Get annoyed about this.
You're an idiot. Stop being an idiot.
So you haven't given me an answer.
You're getting all
so the angle now on the mathematics will be an angle that is not the measured angle that you took when making the observation.
The measured angle. But you have to. There are some calculations you have to do, and also you have to manipulate them. You have to get this distance right, for instance. So
you manipulate the angle. So therefore, you are going to manipulate this angle
it's like saying
you have measured. So you're going to measure it and then manipulate it. Correct?
You don't manipulate anything. It's like saying an equation.
You seem to be going very high pitched. So you are going to manipulate the angle that you have measured.
Not going to manipulate anything. No.
So why have you put this curve in?
The trick. You put
Sorry, why have you put the curve in then? What's this curve that you've put in?
Because you know that the distances between the objects are on a curve, and therefore you.
Sorry, so because you presuppose we're on a curve using an R value. Why are you rumpusing me, Rumpus? Why are you rumpusing me? Is this frustrating and annoying that it doesn't meet the standards of your religious faith? So based on your religious faith in a sphere, you're going to change the angle that you actually measured to bring it in line with the sphere.
Well, you're going to presume you're on a sphere, yeah.
Right. Excellent. I think that's where I'll end this recording. Thank you very much, Rumpus. I think I'll also do a little blessing. Radius Dominus, Gravitas Spiritus Sanctus, Arwin. Go in peace, globeheads. In R you trust.